gonna be such a long night.
I literally was looking at Naomi.
So much.
All right. Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
It's Kui
And it's Mich.
and this is The Raw. All right. So today we have a modern day dating video for you guys, and we're gonna do one with the woman's perspective and then one with the men's perspective. And so we have beautiful women here with us today, and
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, ladies, like I said, we are so ready to hear y'all's thoughts on all these things that we're gonna talk about. But before, we want to know who y'all are. So just tell us your name, where you're from, or what city you're up in, whatever, and then your relationship status.
ooh. And anyone can go. Let's start with.
I
My
knew you
right.
was gonna start with me.
Because none of y'all gonna go.
Okay, all right. Hey y'all, I'm Natalie. I'm from Kenya, but I am repping Kenya, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And what else y'all want?
Your relationship status.
Oh, okay. I'm in a relationship. Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Naomi. I rep Ivory Coast, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia as well, and I am dating.
Okay, my name is Melissa. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and my relationship status is also dating.
My name is Lee. I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and my status is I'm dating.
All right, we got some daters in the house.
Right.
What else?
Serial dating.
What
Okay.
Right.
My relationship status is in a relationship.
I am single. I'm dating.
Looking to mingle.
Are you looking
Another serial dater.
Okay, hold on. We asking the question.
Single looking to mingle.
Okay.
You know.
All right, so we're going to ask you guys, hop into the questions. They haven't heard any of these questions because we want it to be an authentic take. So the first question is, how do you define dating and stages of dating? So how do you define dating?
Who you asking?
Y'all can just jump right into it. Don't be shy.
Right, since all y'all dating, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Well, dating is different. Okay, so dating is different from like what our parents would consider dating. Like back then, you would date, but you would kind of like be in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like they court you. Nowadays, that shit does not exist. There's some like people who will, but like nowadays, you know, these niggas ain't shit. Sorry, not sorry. There's broken ears. I'm just kidding. But so I define dating as some just getting to know multiple people. I'm not sleeping with them, but yeah.
Getting to know multiple people. Anybody else have anything to add to the definition? How do you guys define dating? Because there's a lot of y'all in here who's dating.
Who dating,
Right,
right?
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Like getting to know multiple people, kind of like figuring out what like men or women for some people interest you. Like getting to know yourself too, I feel like is an important part of the dating process. You kind of just like, you know, you're not really like committed, but you're just mingling.
And so, like, sorry, I think an important point, distinction now between like our parents and just how we view it now is exclusivity. Like when you're dating someone, at least the way I view it, like I can date 3 guys at a time and that just be dating. But if we're dating exclusively, I feel like, okay, we're in a relationship.
So okay, that's a good point, because that actually just opened up a whole new can of worms. So you said dating exclusively, and relationship. Are those 3 different stages, or is that like you could be dating and be exclusive. You can be dating and seeing multiple people working towards a relationship. You can be dating simply to date. Like, what does that mean for y'all?
It really just depends. Like,
yeah, I think it looks different for different people, but like, so some people might not want to be like, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, but like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. So as long as like the two parties decide that they're going to be exclusive, I feel like it's kind of whatever they make it to be, as long as both people that are like dating each other are on the same page.
But do you think that the dynamic changes once you say like this is my boyfriend and my girlfriend versus like exclusively dating?
Let's ask.
I'm not
Asking that.
Okay, well, definitely yes. I think that when you're just dating exclusively, just from my experiences, versus being in a relationship, that dating exclusively without the relationship gives people loopholes, and I don't do good with that. And like, it's like, hey, like I did say we were exclusive, but we weren't in a relationship, so this could happen. I mean, like when it does, so it kind of, to me, it doesn't give me the full feeling comfortable about my relationship with that person, because my thing is like, if you just want me, only me, you want to date me exclusively, why not the relationship? So
I think that's a good point. So that, to Natalie said, what do y'all, the rest of y'all think is the difference between dating exclusively and then being boyfriend and girlfriend? Is it simply the title, or like, is there more?
And also to add on to that, do you guys act differently? Like as the woman in the relationship, do you guys act differently if you guys are dating exclusively versus like having the title of a girlfriend?
I wouldn't say act necessarily, but more just like feeling more secure. And by feeling more secure, you will act differently. Like you wouldn't be trying to, check up on doing extra stuff, like, search Instagram. I feel like maybe you would do that in a relationship. If I have to do that in a relationship, I don't need to be in a relationship. But I just think that in that way, maybe act differently. But as far as like maybe what's being done between, maybe not.
I feel like the title definitely changes things, because like, I feel like just psychologically people tend to like adopt titles that they're given. Like if somebody, for example, we've seen like police, like once they put the uniform on, like they really adopt that, like, I'm powerful or whatever. So I feel like the same goes for mothers, fathers, anybody who gets like a role and like that's their role, then they tend to act more like that. So I feel like that's maybe what the title does in some way, like makes people feel more like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, as opposed to just like free will type of thing. But personally for me, I feel like there shouldn't be much difference in like change between like the dating exclusively, because if you tell me we're dating exclusively, like that's your word, and like regardless of if you're my boyfriend or my husband or whatever, like you gave me your word, and so a violation of that is just going to be the same as if you were like my man.
Right. So you cheated.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, this I just got one more thing on this, but Mel talked about roles and taking on roles, right? So broader gender roles. Do you think as like women in relationships, like when you are moving towards something, like going from dating to dating exclusively, or dating exclusively to like a more loose situation, do you feel like you have like a certain role to play in communicating, trying to move forward? Where I'm coming from is the lens of like, there's this whole culture of like, oh, you don't want to be too aggressive and seem like you pressed to be in a relationship, so you try to play lax. Like, how do you feel about like, if you're really feeling someone, you're trying to move it forward, do you feel like you have restrictions based on gender roles?
For me, I've always just like fed off of their energy. Like, I feel like once the guy kind of makes his move, like, starts trying to dive a little deeper, that's when I feel comfortable to say, oh, like do extra things. But until he like makes a move, then I won't necessarily feel comfortable, because the last thing you want is for him to be like, whoa, slow your roll. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I say just feed off the other person's energy regardless.
Yeah, I agree. I saw this post on Instagram. It was saying women will treat a man based on how he like treats her at the beginning or something like that. So just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, definitely feed off that energy. So if you want to act lax, cool. I'll act lax too.
Right, copy.
And it has like no relation to gender at all, right? Like just in general.
Well, I feel like women expect the man to be like, I want to be with you, or like, I mean, you know, the man proposes. So I feel like it's kind of like it is gender roles in some way because women are not out here proposing. Well, I mean, some women might be.
It's a few of them.
Or I feel like for the most part, like most women are like waiting.
You're right. Nobody is.
Most women are like waiting for the man to ask something, but I feel like women don't think about this enough, and like I don't know, men don't admit this to themselves enough. But I feel like everybody has insecurities, and so sometimes they might not be as confident like with what y'all have going on, and so you know, a woman being like, this is kind of what I want might make them feel more like, okay, we're on the same page here. I feel like it just is like communication.
Yeah.
Like if he gets on one knee, she won't be like,
You know?
Follow up. Okay. Let's move on to the next one because we kind of touched on this when you guys spoke about your relationship status, but what are the rules around talking to multiple people and at what point does it get exclusive?
Father Lord.
What are the rules?
Yeah, just like your general rules, like how you operate when if you are and when you are dating multiple people.
I just make sure I'm okay first. Like I make sure I like put me first, and like what you were saying earlier, like when you're dating, you're also like dating yourself, trying to figure out what you like and what you don't like. And so you know, you first like start dating someone, like what we were saying earlier, you don't want to like, I don't say like be like too assertive, but like, you know, you kind of like feed off the energy, so you just like, I really just lost my train of thought.
It's cool. It's cool.
And if someone is just not making me like feel good, or like I'm like constantly like second guessing, I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like that, then I'm just like, okay, I'll do the next.
Got it.
I feel like the gray area is very gray. And so when you're dating multiple people, like you're in like the gray area with all of them or however many. And so I just think that it's important to like communicate with that person and define exactly what it is that's going on, and like let them know that, at least for me, like I am also communicating with other people, and like we're not exclusive here. We've agreed that we're not exclusive. We're getting to know each other. So like me communicating with other people or you communicating with other people, as long as we both know that and nobody's like, well, that's not what I want to be doing, then I mean, I think that like that's the most important rule, is like not trying to like hide what you're doing or like not reveal your true intentions. Because that's when like the gray area gets like crazy.
It's messy.
Yeah. And I think just like a rule of thumb is like operate as a free agent. Like the both of you, right? Like, but
I'm trying to get drafted to the highest pick.
when you like, I don't know, just essentially, and then like on the flip side of that, if you feel like one of the people that you're talking to like is kind of doing things either to stop that down, like trying to make things like a little more like just y'all instead of, you know, being aligned on the fact that y'all are both free agents, or if they're like, you know, you checking their story one day and you see a girl on there, like that's when you for me that's when I cut it off, because it's like we operate under the same assumption, however like we have boundaries still.
Speak to that though, because if you are operating as free agents and then you see them with a girl, then why does that make you want to cut them off?
Okay, like not just any girl, but like if you seeing a girl in their story, like they on date, like you broadcasting it. Like we know that we're free agents, but the world seems to believe that you're in a monogamous situationship. So it doesn't seem that we're aligned.
It was what influences contribute. Did anybody else have any response to that question?
I think too, we have to acknowledge that like relationships are like all over social media and like TV, and we've been watching that stuff since we were like young, and so I think it's like we have to acknowledge that influences us a little bit, and it's like up to the individual to like think about like what their idea of a relationship is and like where it comes from, and like if there's some things you maybe need to like subtract because maybe that's not the healthiest thing, but you just learned it along the way, and then like take that out, add in things that you feel like are healthy. But I think our environment, for sure, even like whatever relationships we saw between like our parents or whoever raised us, like that 100% influences how we navigate in relationships.
And I just add, like, on top of like social media, for me, I think like other relationships, just why I think it's really important to like date around and like figure out, like, I think, you know, the standard influences how you date. So if, you know, like Mo was saying earlier, like if you're used to like these lax, Naomi touched on it too, like lax situations, and that kind of like becomes a standard that kind of influences what you accept and what you don't accept. So I think like in the like dating situation, like being very honest about, okay, did I like the situation? What did I like about it? What didn't I like about it? Allows you like continue to build your own personal gold standard as you're trying to find, you know, who will and who will not fit for me.
Yeah, and then to that point, I also think that just like being able to have real conversations with people who are in relationships, because like a lot of times with social media, the things that we see and like we either like hope for or crave for is just like the surface level, right? And so just being able to talk with people who are in relationships that you admire or liken to, and then being able to see like how they go through arguments and like how it is on a day-to-day basis, and not just like the screen smoke and mirrors of like, oh, y'all look so cute type of version of relationship.
And then I'll also add, this is like kind of new for me, but like the Bible has some great like verses that kind of like talk about how you should be in a relationship with everybody, not just like a significant other. And I feel like if you can like use those things, like I mean like the Bible has been around for forever, and I feel like it's a good source of like wisdom. So that too, if you're
All right, so the next question is, women, where do you guys think that men are missing the mark when it comes to dating?
I think they're just lazy. Yes. They're just lazy. And just feel like they don't have to put in any type of effort. They feel like they're just like entitled to a woman. Like, and that's not the case. Like, you need to chase me. Act like you care about me. Like, I'm not your mother. And also, it's not up to me to sit here and try to teach you how to do X, Y, and Z. Especially if you're a grown man. Again, I am not your mother.
I can piggyback off that just based on like conversations I've had with other guys, and I've heard them say things like, whether these be my friends or people I date, but like oh, the woman basically relies on us to propose, so like we have the upper hand regardless. And I've heard that statement, and it's just kind of like, I don't even know how to rebuttal that. Like, I just can't believe you're saying that. But so I think that might be a reason why they can be lazy. But at the same time, I think that if a man has that mindset, then he has a lot of growing up to do anyways. And like, I don't think that they're all like that. It's like, if that's how he's talking, then he needs to go somewhere else.
I think that men miss the mark sometimes because they have very large egos and they're very prideful, and it's difficult for them to be vulnerable. And I think all those three things combined just makes for like situations where they're not being as honest and communicative as they should be. And like, even if they're feeling something, it's almost like they don't really know how to express it, which is like not 100% their fault, because that's kind of like what they've been made to think, you know, this whole time. I gotta be a man, I gotta be like, you know, whatever. So I think once they can like recognize their ego, recognize like where they're lacking in like being vulnerable, and like come into that more, then it makes them, to me, more of a man in like for a healthier, more mature relationship.
Do you think race has to do with that?
Race?
Or just like, yeah, like, do you think that black men, like, I guess, try to have that, you know, or protect that ego? Like, do you think that it's different? I mean, I've never, like, dated a white man, so I don't know. But, like, I'm just wondering if you know, or do you think?
She hasn't either.
Race. I think black men have have a hard time in society. So I feel like race 100%
Yeah.
like probably does something, because I feel like there's all these things they're trying to like combat in their heads, and it's like influencing their most like interpersonal relationships. When it's really not even personal to the woman, it's like in them, and they just have not addressed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
That
that
brings that brings up a good point. I think regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on for gender, I think something that we have to, like, as our generation come to terms with is like not relying on a situationship or relationship, anything like that, to define our happiness. I think a lot of that, at least in my personal experience, I find that like my dating life is better when I'm taking care of home.
Right.
Like when I'm talking to my therapist, like when I'm assessing why didn't things work out with such and such, and I really liked them, I thought we were going to be something, like tapping into the things that I liked and the things that I hated, sort of like the point that you brought up, and taking a deep dive to see like, why is it that bugged me so much? Like, why was it that I responded in that way with that situation? And then like, you know, when you get to the root of it, you're able to move forward like more graciously and you know, just in a more understanding way of yourself and the other person as well.
100%. There's actually a book that I strongly recommend. It's called The Mastery of Love. I forget who the author is, but it's like it's an old book, but it's really, really good. And like one of the things that book talks about that like I've been focusing on in my like dating life now is that like when you have like, I feel like everybody just by nature of like living and being human is like has broken pieces inside of them and like things that they need to fix, and oftentimes like two imperfect people come together and they're looking to you to like make them perfect or make them whole, and like that's never gonna happen. Like nobody else is gonna do your inner work for you, so like it has to start there if you want like healthy relationships.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I have to read that book.
Yeah.
Those 2 points kind of brought us to our final question. We're just gonna ask if y'all had any like final remarks about just dating, relationships, anything. Your last words for us.
I just feel like nowadays, like everyone wants to reach that goal of okay, like I want to like be married and have kids and stuff, and like I feel like oftentimes people forget about themselves. Like what you were saying earlier, like you gotta make sure you're good before you try to like pour into anybody else's cup, you know what I mean? And like I saw something that Tracy Ellis said, like people were like, oh, why aren't you married or whatever, and she's like, I just choose not to be. And I feel like now like there's pressure, like okay, when are you gonna do this, when are you gonna do that? What if I don't want that? What if I'm just okay with being by myself? Like, well, why can't that be normalized instead of okay, like people love saying, oh, well, my husband this, my husband that, but like y'all are really unhappy, like
Yeah.
So I just feel like just do whatever makes you happy, and you have to make sure you're good first, you're happy with yourself first, and then you can share your happiness with somebody else who's happy with themselves.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And I think dating should be fun.
Yeah.
Like, in the moment that it's not fun for you, you need to cut it off.
Because
like, you be in a bad situation, you know, you just feel like it was fun at first and now it's not. And it's becoming a theme of not being good.
Yeah.
You gotta end it immediately before worse turns to worse. And y'all will grow to resent each other. You know, when you can leave each other still on good terms, like caring about the person from a distance, as opposed to ending it being like, I want nothing to do with this person, like I wish ill will on them, like just leave when it's not fun.
And I think honestly that kind of balances a few points that we were all making earlier, is about like feeling like you're choosing this other person, right? And like having it being fun is like knowing that that other person wants to be also spending this time with you, is also concerned about you as much as you are. I feel like everything becomes not fun when it feels forceful. I don't feel like forceful is fun. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's fighting for love. Like anything that's forced, like is like no. And I think that's like what true love is. True love is choice and liberty, and choice and liberty is never forced.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
definitely.
Yep. Love is a choice.
And I definitely think that you have to have an idea of what dating means to you, because if you're allowing so many different like factors to influence what dating looks like and what your happiness in dating looks like, then you're going to fail every time. Like you have to know what you want going in and what you're willing to put up with and what is like a hard no for you. Otherwise, like anything just goes and then it stops being fun. So yeah. Mel, you was dropping gems. You don't got any notes?
Just like
And another book.
and another
podcast.
Revelations.
Just coming from my public health background, we didn't really talk too much about sex, but safe sex. That's my last thing.
Thank you, Mel. All right, well, thank y'all so much for joining us. This was really, really great. I'm so happy to have y'all.